Welcome to the podcast that puts a finger on the pulse of revenue and technology. On this show, you'll hear from industry experts, executives, and investors on the art of transforming B2B businesses into scale-up insurgents. This is Revenue Uncoded.
Welcome to the podcast. This week on Revenue Uncoded.
Hey, man, uncoded.
Yeah,
this week, hey, big week. Big weekend.
Chiefs, Super Bowl.
Again, third time in the last 4 years, I believe.
I hear the D word. Dynasty?
I think a lot of people in Buffalo and Cincinnati are not pleased with our attendance. And we're starting to get this little kind of like Patriots feel, where everybody hated the Patriots and everybody hated Tom Brady. Now they're starting to hate Mahomes. How can you hate Mahomes?
He's just a nice guy.
He's the nicest guy in the world.
He's a nice guy. Makes incredible
He's
money.
not a jackleg. He's a fantastic guy.
He's a nice guy.
And he's a good actor.
Knows what he's doing.
So,
what is the common factor here? A nice guy who knows what he's doing.
Boom. There we go. So
a leader that gives praise to his team and works with them so the group is better. Wow.
Crazy concept.
That's a great concept.
I saw that one on LinkedIn before. Today
that was a good one.
With Michelle Powell. We'll give out a shout to Michelle. She's had a great quote on LinkedIn this week.
Yes.
So speaking of game day, right? I'm going to draw an analogy of game day when vendors are sitting there and they're getting together and they're like, oh my God, we've got the demo coming up, the big demo, right? So Sunday with the Chiefs, but in the BSS world and on kind of the bigger topic of vendor selection, we're going to talk today about the vendor selection demo.
The demo. Yeah.
Demo.
Oh, and we can't say the super thingy. It has to be the big game, right? Or we could easily wind up in trouble.
Oh, that's right. Well, copyright laws.
So today, Bill Griffin,
yeah,
Brian Preston, and joining us remotely, Barbara Lancaster.
Oh, hello, Barbara Lancaster.
Hi, guys.
All right. So Barbara, all right. If you're okay with this, I'm going to give a little background on Barbara. So Barbara and I have known each other for 15, 18 years, thereabouts. She's been affiliated with our company and our product for a long, long time. But she does have a little bit of experience in the BSS space. She likes to say 4 decades. I think that's crazy. I don't buy that. But she has been around a lot of variables. She's held her own consulting companies for years that did some amazing things in and around the BSS side. Another one of those Canadians. We got more Canucks up there, right? Yeah. Man, no matter what we do, we just can't get rid of the Canadian influence.
Good job, eh?
Hey.
And you don't want to.
So, good friend, very knowledgeable in the space. Hello, Barbara Lancaster.
I'm delighted to be here.
There you go. Did I miss anything about your background? Would you like to say anything or share anything else?
No, that 4 decades takes a little while to collapse. But and hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm doing great, Barb. Great.
I think she started with smoke signals as a CSR at Bell Canada or something like that.
That's exactly right. That's how we used to get customer orders done, was with smoke signals. That's right.
All right. So speaking of signals, let's talk about this thing, demos. All right. So, and the reason why we want to kind of talk about it is that, demos, like I said, are kind of like, the big thing, right? And when any organization is out looking for software, I don't care if it's BSS or whatever, hey, show me the demo, right? Just get me to the demo. So,
I want to see it. Show me what it does.
Show me what it does. Show me that interface.
Show me how you would set this up. Go do that.
Yeah.
So those are big questions, right, on if you're doing a demo, because the buyer's expectations in their head versus what you have in your demo can be miles apart.
Yes.
You could actually get to the solution, but when you go to show it, it can be the big bomb is what it can turn out to be.
And then now we're kind of talking again.
Yes.
As it relates to BSS, right? If you're a subscription management BSS vendor that shows recurring charges, hey, here's our nice, pretty interface. Isn't it nice? And it all shows up here.
Add,
click,
change,
boom,
delete.
Boom. Real simple, right? But if you're in a B2B world, it's not that simple, is it?
No.
because every organization's got their own rules, their own requirements, their own how they treat things, how they define things. One of the observations that I've seen is that, I've seen 7 different telcos define one thing 7 different ways, right? So even though you would think it's all TM form centric and uniform, it's not always, right? It's very different.
That's such an important point that you're raising, Bill, because for a long time, telcos have been trained to think that they are unique, which substantiates a unique price.
There we go.
From the vendor,
which justifies
right?
or substantiates? Justifies.
Yes. So if everyone actually were kind of operating the same, phone company with services to consumers and to business customers, then the expectation would be that you could buy software that would underpin the normal operations of such an organization. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
If you're not just run of the mill, if you are unique and your service offerings are unique and your customer service policies are unique, then you need a bespoke solution. So this supports tremendous pricing flexibility, let's put it that way, but it gets in the way of figuring out what you should and could demo.
Well, if you bring up some good points there, right? So one thing is that I go to, if I'm a smaller CLEC or I'm a middle-sized regional CLEC, then that telco in a box solution, that's the one for me, right? But I have heard numerous times that everybody, when they go to shop for a system, they're like, I don't want a telco in a box. I don't want to be constrained by, what they consider to be the appropriate, definitions. My business is different, right? So inevitably, but you always start off at the demo. So maybe I should circle back to the demo. Let's circle back to the demo.
That's the thing. You wind up having to kind of paint that first picture of how you would help this company that's really unique and different with what they're going to do, utilize this offering that you have for them.
Yep.
So your demo is your first foot forward that speaks to a number of different stakeholders within a buying organization.
Yep.
So you may have some IT network, you've got finance, other people that would be involved and take a look at it. And your demo, it's like that first chance to make your first impression.
It is.
Don't screw it up.
Don't screw it up.
Because it's bad.
Don't go screw it up.
You need to make it, put a best foot forward. So when you look at that, what are some of the main challenges of producing and demoing well? If you're when you're demoing a complex system to a buyer that has unique expectations for what they want to see and in their mind, does your software do what I need? Does your solution do what I need? We're trying to meet those goals. So what would be the preamble steps before you ever even went to the demo? You would want to figure out what those hotspots are, right, with them? Because just a generic CAN demo plays like a generic CAN demo. It's like buying the frame. You hope the picture that comes with it looks good because you haven't replaced it yet. So that's the problem with the canned one. Yeah. They want to see their family, their business in the frame. But in order to do that, when you have a complex set of data and solutions, what do you do?
Well, in my experience,
Brian,
right?
You're right.
Go ahead, Barbara.
They want to see their company reflected in your demo. So their product names, their pricing plans, their branding. And yet, this is often the first real conversation because, they've done their homework. They've been on your website. They've been on the website of several shortlisted competitors.
Usually, yeah.
They have a good understanding. If you've done a good job with your website, they have a good understanding of what your differentiation points are and what they can expect. And they sort of, even though they've never spoken live, they expect exactly as you said, to see their family on the screen. Yep. And yet that's not very realistic. So, as you're saying, how do we do the same thing? How do we dig in and do our homework on who are these people? What do they bring to the market?
And we is everybody, right?
Yeah.
It's not Kansas. It's
It's
everybody in the
Applies to
space,
everyone.
everybody in the technology.
These are those
space, right?
steps you want to be considering, right? Because you've got your picture frame.
Mm-hmm.
Which family is going to show up in that frame
Yeah.
into the mirror of the people that are looking at it?
I always think
Is it
about
Uncle Fester?
Uncle Fester. So you don't want Uncle
No,
Fester.
you don't want that.
Unless the customer really likes Uncle Fester.
It needs to be smooth.
So, but usually there's a scout, right? Somebody who's chartered with doing some information collection, and he's a scout, and it just says, I'll never forget. We were in a management meeting one day, and a scout calls us up and says, "Hey, I'm making a billing system decision here, and I need to see your system this afternoon. Ready, set, go." And we were in a management meeting. There was like 8 or 9 of us there, and we're sitting there. He's like, "What? Well, but what do we? Who are you? What do you do?
Who are you?
This kind of, I want to see a demo. I want to see your demo now."
And I want to see your checkbook.
All right. So the conversation with this person was, well, we don't really work like that. So we had a nice conversation. Inevitably, fast forward, that organization ended up selecting our organization because it was a fit for XYZ. But the race to the demo was, roughly a week and a half later or 2 weeks later. So I do think there's really kind of 2 flavors of a demo. I do think every vendor should have a generic demo, right? That's the at least, hey, this is what the interface looks like. Here's the high level functionality and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But to go to a real demonstration, all right, that really addresses their pain points. Right, and that's just good discovery and information gathering and all that kind of stuff. And the right way is to collect scrubbed information from them, right? And then you say, well, we're going to have a point of a POC demo quasi. So you kind of have to put a little boundary around it and say, well, I'm not going to build your own system around a demo, but
that costs money and time.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but we can get there pretty close. So what are the benefits in being able to do something like that?
Correct, right? All of us, right? But
anybody.
So it probably starts with when the organization kind of reaches out to a vendor. All right, they're usually going to have half a dozen things that they say this is really important to us. Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Make or break.
Yeah, and then if you want to kind of give them the quick and dirty, you can do that. But what's interesting on the quick and dirty is that a quick and dirty by industry vertical is inordinately different.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I mean, transportation industry versus telco versus financial services versus all those, just the quick and dirty. It's almost as if you need, 24 vertical generic demos.
Just in the one vertical of communications and technology and the delivery of these data services.
Yeah.
Well, I just said a whole mouthful of different things.
And you just spit out 4 different flavors of one vertical.
And but you have to be able to engage with all of those elements when you're going to bill it. Because each one of those rolls into your billing system. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to demo, you at least need to, this is my opinion, and I've seen this several times, so I think it's right. But what I'm going to say is you have to be able to be fluid and flexible enough to show and speak to each one of those items, even though you may not be able to have an applied piece of software to demo real functionality at that moment based on the complexity of the back office that would normally be feeding it. But you should be able to paint that picture, I would think, up front and speak to those challenges and hit like, the 80-20 rule. Now, 80% of the stuff I can show you pretty well exactly what we do, but 20% of it is so custom to your environment that that's going to be a more involved process.
And by the way, most buyers are not insane. They don't have unrealistic expectations, right? They tend to be a little more pragmatic. But all right, so I'm going to flip to the consultant. All right, so Miss Barbara, here is your hypothetical.
Yep.
Put on your old consulting hat. You have now been engaged as the BSS, OSS selection assistance consultant to go gather information.
Yes.
Go. What do you do?
So, something that I've actually done.
I would think you've done it a few times before. Yes.
So thanks for the question. My job, if I'm trying to help the buyer shortlist, first of all, vendors that are worth exploring further, the first thing I have to do is really understand what the buyer wants, who they are, what their priorities are, where their no-go are. That's what they're looking to me to do. The most fun when we had that role, when a vendor kept trying to reach to the buyer, and the buyer would simply say, "Call Barbara," and hang up.
Ooh.
So, because that's the job, right? So that gatekeeper. But in order for me to do a good job as a gatekeeper, I really do have to understand. I have to understand their habits, their foibles, their hot points,
their culture.
Budget. And so that allows the vendor selection support consultant to do a good job. In turn, that means you should have a clue what all of those things actually mean from having done the job yourself. Mm-hmm. But when we reach out to a vendor to say, here's the high-level description of the buyer, we have to do that in order to let the vendor have a decent opportunity of best foot forward. As you said earlier, Brian, we as vendors can show a plethora of business functions and different approaches and different process flows and workflows, exception handling, all that stuff. But if we know a little bit about the buyer, then we can focus on what's a good use of their listening time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you focus on those items, as practitioners, you've both sat and talked and worked with on both sides of the equation, with the vendor and with the purchaser, with the customer per se. So when you're looking to set up a demo in today's world versus what it was just 10 years ago, on the technology and the pieces that you want to be able to demonstrate with your customers, what do you think are probably your top 3 things you would want to be able to convey when you were doing a demo, given you're selling a billing system? So what are the things, not so much that you want to convey, what are the methods you would use to make sure that your messaging conveys well, whatever it happens to be?
Well, usually take a step back. What usually happens is that what usually happens is that, there's this RFP requirements spreadsheet that I think has been, kind of like the town bicycle, right? Everybody's been out on a ride for it, right? Mm-hmm. It just circulates from organization to organization to organization,
picking up collateral and questions.
And here are 950 questions. Yes, no, maybe, right? All right. So you get all this stuff, and so you're So, but a good consultant, even if they're using a starting RFP document with all these questions, right? They'll kind of say, "Whoa, time out." Yeah. These 35 questions are idiotic. They don't apply to us, right? So a good BSS consultant will be able to kind of do that mapping. But so once you kind of get through that, and then you go through a blessings and you say, all right, well, you've answered 79.3% correctly on this 900 requirement document. So you are now in the top 15. All right, good. So you go to that next 15, and so then you get to the demo, right? And here's what I think we advocate, and I think it's a better approach. Is if you have to go through that process, you have to go through that process, but give us some of your data. Mm-hmm. Scrub that data, right? Let's kind of figure out your top 5 or 6 issues, right, or challenges or pains that you're really trying to address, with the selection of a new system, right?
Yep.
And so then, you'll listen to it and say, well, what would you like to do, right? So you kind of take all that information, you go through this process. And on a related note, I am going to tell a side story. There is a top 20 corporation in the world that needed a billing system to launch a new strategic line of business. And it got down to 2. It got down to a short list of 2. One is a multinational, very large organization, and they brought him in to the world headquarters, which is a very large world headquarters somewhere in North America. I'll just leave it at that. And they basically said, here's our data, here's our use cases, you've got 4 days, go. All right? And so we were fortunate to have some really talented people that went through the whole process and provided what they wanted, whereas another organization that was very large, came in with some brilliant PowerPoints and, all those sorts of things, and they're like, well, where's the demo? Where's the
Software.
our information?
Where's the
Well,
solution?
you don't understand. That's part of the next phase. But look at this wonderful PowerPoint, right? And so now, Barb, you know what I'm talking about. But we cannot say what it is, right? But we ended up doing that. We worked with that very large organization for 6 years, right? And it was
Now, how is that a sad story, Bill?
Well, it's not a sad story.
It's about the nimbleness of your ability to deliver a demo quickly that means something to the customer for what their use cases are, for why they're going to do business with you.
Now we're hitting on something a little bit different than the demo. Now
Yes, I'm sorry.
It is.
We are going off track. We're going off topic.
Right? Now we're getting close to the truth. Is your software configurable?
You
or
can't
is it
handle
not?
the truth.
Or is it coding?
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what that particular bake-off demonstrated, that the software, one company's software was configurable, allowing an expert team in 4 days to actually present a pretty comprehensive solution working.
Yeah.
Compared to the other vendor who could set out the theory of what they would build.
Right.
And this is a really important point for the demo, because if the buyer's higher priorities includes configurability versus hard coding or difficult configuration, then that makes a big difference. So what that buyer should be looking for in a fairly quick demo is, how easy is it to actually change what I'm seeing in the demo?
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the fun things that we used to do with customers would be, of course, most interested in how do they monetize their portfolio of products and services. That's key, right, to almost every company. How do they bring things to market that customers will pay them for, but are slightly differentiated from something very similar from a competitor? So what we used to offer is, we used to say, well, we actually can configure a new product for you, a new pricing plan with different parameters, and we can do it right here, in the demo. And usually they would say, no way. And we'd say, okay, we'll tell you what.
What?
Tell
No
you
way.
What.
Way.
What's your dog's name? And they'd tell us the dog's name, Sparky. So we would create a new product offering called Sparky And well, what do you want Sparky to include, and how much is Sparky going to cost? And is that, is it pay per use? Is it subscription? Is it volume tier based? What do you want? And we put in all the parameters into the product catalog, and then we'd synchronize and we'd launch Sparky. And you go back out, and Sparky is now available to order. That blew people away who cared about that sort of product flexibility and fast launch to market. It would mean nothing to somebody who had a different set of priorities and problems, right?
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
Very cool.
So let's talk 1 second about our demo disaster stories.
Demo disaster. Oh, man.
Because I think all
The
three
spinning
of
ball
us
of death is what I
have-
call it.
Oh, the spinning ball of death. My gosh, it works in the office. There you are, and oh my God, now my laptop won't start. I don't have the right cable to plug into the projector. You can't see it. And I put it on a CD-ROM and sat on it, and my dog ate it. The number of times where that the mechanism of how you do that demonstration, whether it's live, whether it's live is really where that's the happy place to be.
Yeah, well, to me, I'm thinking about the spinning ball of death because I've been there.
Oh my
where
God.
where you're sitting, where you're sending a query, a data query, and it's just a spinning, where you're waiting for the query to come back,
And you hear a modem go off in the background.
and it's going in circles and circles, and now you're like, it should be any second now. Oh, no. Look, Elvis is over there. So
This is great. Woo.
so we've all been there, right? But usually that's a function of, do you have a dedicated demo environment? Is it clean, and is it is all the data scrubbed? And just a caveat to all of the buyers out there is that all of these vendors are spending hours and hours orchestrating the perfect first representation, usually in their generic demo, right? So there's there are people who are tested once, twice, 3 times, and the environments are all kind of, pristine, clean, and so the advice to buyers is, don't be too caught up in that canned off-the-shelf demo, because you're seeing the absolute best of the software, right? That is a finely tuned, orchestrated event, right? And they usually
it still may not work right.
and it's still, but so
Cue spinning ball.
spinning balls. So
that's another really important point that you're bringing up, Bill, and that is the sort of the sequence and the cadence of the conversation. Right. So it is really important. So the buyers have done lots of homework. They've shortlisted 15 solutions that they want to have a closer look at. Hopefully the conversation includes some discussion about priorities and budgets and timeframes, the things that it is a two-way conversation, right? It is a relationship that has to work for both the vendor and the buyer. So that base level setting relationships and get all of that done. And then you're still going to want to start with a less time intensive demo, something that you don't have to have 3 or 4, solution engineers working on for a couple of days to tune. You're still going to want to show off, these are the cool things about our solution that are interesting to many people, hopefully to you too, and create, so it is that layered discussion. And then if the conversation continues and both parties continue to like each other and think that there's a good fit here, now you're both interested in investing more time, more effort in moving to the next step.
Mutual investment. That's true. That is true. And it is a significant investment of time, on their scout or their consultant or their key stakeholders.
The 10 people that show up in the room that are the stakeholders to watch the demo with the spinning ball.
Oh man, there's
Right.
nothing worse.
get past
There's
that one.
nothing
It
worse
gives me
when you
nightmares.
show up and there's this long, conference room table, and there's 15 people on both sides, the finance guy and the product guy and the IT guy, and this and that. They've all got their questions, and they're sitting there focused, and they're waiting their turn to just, laser you. And inevitably that happens, and you get the spinning ball of death. Oh.
Well, and now post-COVID, you have the other thing where you're doing the demo remotely through a team or Zoom, kind of a shared screen environment. So luckily, you're probably able to at least demo from your facilities as the demoer, so that you're showing it through the screen. But we've seen a number of times where the technology of this Teams and Zoom, et cetera, somebody plays a canned video or something in it, and it doesn't work well through this streaming technology, so much latency, lag, and things that it's another one. I'm just bringing that as a point for people to think about, that if you've got that nice presentation, you really need to demo it to yourself and your own internal team members to see if it's going to play well through remote technology, streaming technology, Zoom. And what can you do? Do you need to hook your laptop up as its own web camera specifically? Well, that works better. So those are technical things you need to kind of take into consideration, because that's the post-COVID type of spinning ball. You put it on there, and it's max headroom talking to you, and then the audio cuts out, and then you're back to, hey, look, there's birds and things, and it's all wonderful.
When I was thinking about that conference table one time, I saw somebody that had lost interest, or that wasn't her topic, right? And so I saw her kind of doing something, and all of a sudden I said, and that's the functionality that I would really want to kind of focus. What do you think about that, Becky? And she's like, it's just fun, just boom, throw them a little curveball, throw a little zing, you got a lot of sweat and time and effort and put into this thing. So, but I think the real takeaway for me is when you get to a real applied demo that is taking into consideration their processes, their priorities, and their data scrubbed, and you're showing it to them. It is a unique entity, a unique instance of software tied to their world, right? That, and a lot of times it's usually a first cut, right? So. And a first cut on the software development world for B2B complex, I don't know anything where your first cut is just, it just sings and is perfect, right? No, that's just persona non grata. It just doesn't happen.
You usually wake up afterwards and go, oh, I was dreaming.
Right? So it's, even the applied demo process can be an iterative refinement approach, right? And you want to kind of test it as much as you can, but you never know what question. And what's also more dangerous with that is that when you get curveballs thrown at you from that, that conference room table, well, that's really great, but, can you show me how that applies to the aging policy? And you're like, whoa, so you got to be able to react to that as well, right? So it's a different space in the B2B complex world.
I think, Bill, your term applied demo is really great, because so we have, sort of the generic demo that pretty much if somebody calls up and says, well, could you show me a little bit of, customer service workflow? Sure, we can, but recognizing that it's generic, it may not fit your needs, but it's easy to change. Okay, so you do that. You continue on the conversation, you get to know each other better, you get to know priorities, you get to know personalities, you get to know what Becky cares about, right? And now you get close to that applied demo. The cool thing about an applied demo is now there's kind of buy-in on, again, both sides of the relationship. The buyer is now keen to see their business, their data, their products and services, pricing plans, contracts, settlement. They're keen to see that live working in your software. You're keen to show that. And the other huge benefit of that is this is likely reusable.
Yes,
right?
it is.
As the relationship
It's
continues.
a starting.
This
It's a prototype start, right?
It
It's
is the
exactly
start,
correct,
right?
and that's
It's important to bring that up. When
it
you're doing
is,
it.
and hopefully, if you're on the buyer side, this is if you're investing that time, both sides of the equation. It's not something you just want to throw away, right? It's something that you can use as a good starting point.
So if we were to kind of walk through, let's wrap up what we talked about.
Yeah.
Our pluses for a demo. Let's do our first speed round. The top three things that you think you'd want to consider when you're going to do a demo in a complex customer. Bill goes first, then Barbara. Your top three, go.
Well, obviously, having a really understanding of what their challenges are, what's really painful, and that we've gone through, and that we've collected information from them, and that we are working toward that applied demo, and to convey to the customer that this is a real prototype, that we are using their information to, and it may not be perfect. But hopefully it gets you at least 80% there to being able to kind of recognize how a vendor can address and solve their challenges. Okay. And then once you get there, it's okay to throw that vendor a curveball during the presentation. If I'm a recommendation to the buyers, keep your curveball and throw it to them and see how they react. Those would be my initial reactions.
Okay, Barbara.
So top three things to think about as the vendor in preparing for a demo to a customer that is in a large, complex industry where we know we have a great fit, but we want to make sure that we hit the highlights as close to their pain points as possible. So that's number one. How do we do that? Trying to build a relationship with either their shopper or with a member or two or three of the buyer team themselves, if we can get to them. The next thing I think we really have to do in considering the scope and timing of the demo is how to break it up so that maybe different people from the buyer side can slide in and out of the room so that they don't get bored. If we're talking about, finance, audit logs, reporting, and maybe that's not interesting to the network engineering people. Maybe it is, but at least giving them that flexibility to come and go as they want to.
Yeah, because some of these demos can take hour, 2 hours,
4 hours.
If you're serious.
I've certainly seen 2 hours.
When that ball
plus.
is slow, it could take a lot of time.
All right. How about you, Brian Preston? How about you? What are the most 3 important things?
What are the top 3 things I just heard from you guys? Well, number one was you have to do a little research in your preamble with the customer and have an idea of the framework of what you want to present. You have to have done your research. You need to figure out what they're going to do or what they're most interested in. Number 2 was have a flexible presentation and be able to be adaptive to curveballs if they're thrown at you, which means you need to have a reasonably flexible model for your demo. That's what I heard. And I also heard on Barbara's side, you need to have all of those things, as well as a well-formed presentation model that allows people to engage with the demo and move in and out according to their schedule and their time frame. And you also mentioned the same thing, which is you really have to have that understanding of the customer and what they really want to be able to see in order to present your best foot forward.
All right. So now I'm going to switch it. Take off your vendor hat. Now you're a customer. All right. How do you go out and try to shortlist your vendors? And then when you get to the applied demo, we've talked about the differences between canned and applied. What are your recommendations if you are the buyer?
Well, I didn't finish my last one for Barbara, which was the relationship you build with the potential customer. Now I switch the hat over. If I'm the buyer, the first thing that happens is if I'm on the people that get shortlisted, I want to have a level of comfort and understanding of who those people are, and I want to trust that I believe what they're telling me. That's one. Otherwise, they're not even going to make it to the demo.
All right.
Number two is if they do their demo, I want it to be as real world as possible, given constraints of time and money. Don't come in and demo this with a canned video. I would like to be able to see this from the perspective of the billing systems and
what is it for me? Make it for me. Tie it to me, to my, is what you're trying to say, right?
I want
tie
you
it to me.
You need to give me a flexible, real-world demo of what that software can do.
You better demonstrate that you understand.
If you give me
what
a
my
bunch of
challenges
PowerPoints, I'll even forgive a spinning wheel just because I know how irritating it is for a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're just talking to me and don't answer any of my questions or demonstrate a knowledge, flexibility, or a skill set with the things I want to buy,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you. How about
That's
you,
me.
Barbara? Put on your buying hat.
Yeah. First off, it's the do I like you, right? When we're talking about these sorts of software application buying, deployment, live with it for years, if I don't have a sense that the team I'm talking with are people that I want to spend a few years with.
And a lot of money and years with, you bet.
Yep. So that's important to me as a buyer. How do I feel about this? And a little bit to your point, Brian, does it feel credible? Does it feel like the truth? So how do I do that? Well, I have maybe a few of those little bit of alligator questions to throw at you to see how you respond. And you know what? It's okay if you say, gee, I don't know. That's interesting. Let me think about that for a minute, rather than just answer something.
There we go. All right. So we talked about the buyers. We talked about the vendors. We talked about canned. We've talked about applied. A lot of fun war stories along the way, spinning balls of death, etc. But hopefully that gives our listeners a good little sample of this world of game day. So I'm going to switch it to game day. I'm going to put you on the spot, Mr. Preston. This podcast will probably be delivered after the Super Bowl, and of course the Chiefs will have won. But give me a final score, brother. What do you got?
I'm always terrible at that. I'm going to say,
you're on the spot. Let's go, brother.
28-24.
Good guy?
Yes.
Wow.
All right. I am also going to go with 27-24. I'll probably be checking what our friends in Las Vegas really think the over-under is here right after we get off this call here. And I might be putting, $1 or $2 on that. We'll see. Barbara, who wins and what is the final score? Go.
Well, by the seat of his pants, the skin of our teeth, it's the Chiefs and good old Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, you're going with the Holmes? I love it.
I am in one of these last 5-minute terror situations again. Yep.
There we go.
That he's so good at.
I love it.
That's the right answer. Otherwise, you would have mysteriously been disconnected. But,
So hey, just two quick thank yous or two quick bullets. One is that Brian Preston, and there's a person that's on the other side of this camera by the name of Tim Pintar, who has been advocating this approach to establishing relationships with people in our space. It's interesting. I've showed a couple clips to family members, and they're like, "I have no idea what you guys do." So hopefully it's targeted to our listeners. And if you like it, give us a like or subscribe or whatever Tim tells me what to do. But the amount of time and effort just to kind of do the production on one of these things. There's lights and cameras and wires and everything that I have no idea. But Brian and Tim make it happen. So thank you to both. right?
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it. And then
And
if
if there are topics that you'd like to hear
there
us
you go. Yeah,
chat
man.
about,
I mean,
please
hey,
send them in.
yeah, I mean, we've heard some positive encouragement about the approach that is hopefully relatable, conversational. It's certainly not prim and proper. But there's some folks here that I think have a lot of experience that we like to kind of share. And if you think you've got some interest or topics that you'd like us to talk to, man, let us know.
Yes, please.
And if you think you got real game, come on, Revenue Uncoded, man. Let's see what you got.
Oh, come
All
and
right.
play on the panel. That would be most fun.
There you go.
All right. Until next week or until next time, whenever we do this, I think that's been another episode of Revenue Uncoded. What do you think?
Revenue
Uncoded.
uncoded.
Revenue on three, and you have to say it too, Barbara. On three. One, two, three. Revenue uncoded.
Revenue uncoded.
Coded. Thanks again, guys. Cheers.
you.
Bye.